Awesome.
Yeah.
So in this world, what we talk about in notes and stuff like that, there are so many different notes out there, right? There's so many. Are you guys starting to entertain the large area of seller finance notes where these people are creating notes, like some people on our call who are creating notes from an asset they own? Are you guys servicing, and are you guys seeing an inventory influx of seller finance notes?
We are seeing an increase in the inquiries to service them. I'm not sure what our position has been on, because I think it comes down to loan count. So we do get a lot of inquiries where one person has one loan to a family member or someone they know, and they just need someone just to service the asset. We tend to push those off to other servicers out there.
Sure.
And we really haven't had a large, I guess, a large originator of just seller finance notes to come to us to service. And I think for us, and I explained to them, listen, we are a very hands-on servicer. And so you're paying for, you're paying an extra $15 a month because we're hands-on. We are on that borrower if they go any day, a couple days delinquent, whatever. So it's just, and we're touching the asset a lot more than truly if it's just clipping coupons, you could send it somewhere else.
So one of the cool things about creative financing and the seller finance world, and those who are listening, they'll tell you most of the notes they create, the borrower pays servicing fees. So that fee that incurs by us lenders is no longer needed, which is amazing. So those who are buying notes, seller finance notes, majority of them have the feature where the borrower pays whatever the servicing fee is. Now, if the note goes non-performing, you're obviously going to be on the hook for that, but just be aware that the borrower pays the performing note price, which is awesome. It helps with reducing the costs on the lender side.
It is awesome, but I think that could be an issue for us because who's our client?
Right.
The borrower who's paying the servicing fee?
Right.
Very
that
true.
could be tricky. Besides number of loans, are there any other kind of qualifications on a seller finance note, like specific things within the note that you need to be able to say, yes, we can service this note?
To be honest with you, I haven't looked into that.
Okay.
I haven't looked into that, so I couldn't give you a good answer to that, to be honest with you.
Okay. I'm curious, and that comes from some of the notes that Dave and I have seen where people have given us the note and it's a 2-page document, and oh boy, there's a lot of missing information and maybe the paperwork's not done correctly or something like that. So I'm just wondering how that would affect the servicing, if at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Curious. Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing because the pricing has changed, the inventory has changed, and we just have to adjust with the times. I know that you guys are a very large servicing company, and I think I'm trying to think of anyone else, probably the largest broker of notes in scale at our level. There are people who do non-QM loans, all stuff like that, but I think in overall, you guys are the largest broker. So we encourage those who have experience or have some kind of training, either by us or by someone that's experienced, that would like to look at assets that Pollio puts out. Now, understand that Pollio doesn't own these. These are brokered notes, but the legitimate sellers. So these are people he repped and did background check, usually repeat sellers, that he can provide you in a tape list asset, and you're going to make an offer, and you're going to get time for due diligence, all that stuff. So you'll see in the pin post or the link to get his information, his data stuff. But I would like you to make sure that you are professional with what you do, and make sure when you make an offer, you're respectful, you understand, you respond to him. He's a very busy guy.
Yeah. And Dave, we actually just emailed back and forth this week or last week. So Dave and his team are going to be at DME as well.
Yep.
Great time to come and just meet face to face. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So if those who don't know what DME is, Nathan?
Diversified Mortgage Expo. We're pumped. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we're 6.5 months out and we're already just like
Yeah.
so excited. We can't wait.
Nashville
It's
end
so
of
fun.
May. Make sure you get your tickets now. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'll be buying my ticket probably in June for my plane flight down there.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to getting down there. It was an awesome event last year. It's not expensive. It's not $4,000 or $5,000 tickets, and you'll be there with 2 days. So if you're on
Yeah.
either side of the fence of originating or buying notes, you have to go. So
No better place to be, just to come and meet, socialize, talk with other people that are doing this. I cannot tell you how much that has built my business, just going to conferences and talking to people.
yeah.
One of the
So
other things I wanted to say was that, use our trading desk also as an educational tool, because
sure.
as I've always said, if you are telling me that, you might be telling me that this is the first time you bid, you're not comfortable, but if I was going to bid, here's what my offer would be. If I know that, I could use that and then guide you after all the bids come in and say, okay, here's where the high bid came in. Here's why your bid was here, and here's the difference. And, maybe he looked at it this way and you can look at it this way. So it's just a way to keep testing your model. You need something to keep testing and testing your pricing model. Otherwise, if you don't put a bid in, and if you don't put a bid in without letting me know that you're just testing it, you're never going to know where your model is, because you do need to tweak it. Every once in a while, you got to tweak that model to keep up with the market. And again, if you're bidding 10 assets and you can only buy one, if you let me know, and if I have 5 that I think you're the high bid on, I'll come back to you and say, listen, I know you can only buy one. Here are the 5. Which one do you want to buy?
Yeah.
I'm not going to award you 5 when you said you can only bid one.
Yeah.
And with that caveat, if you only have X dollars, how should someone who has, I had 10 grand to spend on notes. I have 5 notes here. I see each one were $10,000. Should I only bid on one note then?
You could bid all 5 as long as you tell me. Because same example, if you tell me that you can only spend $200,000 or $10,000, if I know that before I even go back to the selling client, I'm going to go back to you first and say, listen, here's what you were awarded. What would you like to do, knowing they can only buy one or only spend 200,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm guaranteed that there's going to be someone right behind his bid on the other 4 that I would go back to say, listen, this guy was at 10, you were at 850. Can you get to 10?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's how it's done. Talk.
I see Wendy asked a question regarding the DME. Please fill out Pollio's information. Nathan will actually get that email as well. If we get confused, whatever, we'll reach out to you. We'll share the information. You can go right to the DME site and buy your tickets and fly down to Nashville and shake hands with all of us and say hello and introduce yourself. I think for beginners, the biggest thing is getting started, but being educated at the same time. It's a really big balance, because I'm sure you've run into people where they've been at 5 conferences but never bought a note because they got scared. And I think there are other people who've never been to a conference, had watched 1 hour of YouTube and makes offers. And in between is crazy, right? Don't be scared to make an offer, right? That's how you learn. Believe me, we've made a million mistakes, and I will make a million more. But
At
just
the same
getting
time,
started.
like you say, though, it's just because you've done real estate does not mean you can do notes.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. You have to learn the rules. It's a different game.
Yeah.
And so make sure you're educating yourself at the same time.
Yeah. Don't be knocking the borrower's door saying, I'm buying your note. Don't do that, right? Don't tell anyone. This is not, again, and please, for Pollio's sake and our sake, if you have a list of assets, please don't send it out to everyone, anyone, and post it on social media. You're signing non-disclosure, which means you're not disclosing it to anyone else. That NDA says you're not disclosing it. Why? Why can you send a property address out there that's for sale versus a note? That note is not yours to give out. It's private data, that borrower's information, that borrower's private debt. They don't know their notes being sold. That's private information. If you publicly send it out there, you're violating your non-disclosure and you can be sued. So please, when you sign the non-disclosure, don't broker notes. If you want to broker notes, you can definitely do this, but I would price it out, make the offer, and then work it out with them. But you're not sending a list of addresses to somebody blindly and call that brokering.
Right.
Okay, off my
That's good.
pedestal, Steve, right? So it's awesome.
good.
This year's been a great year. We're looking forward to next year. We're gonna be focused more and more on the seller finance. And the reason for that is the bank loans at 3-4% are really hard to buy,
Mhm.
right? These notes at 3-4-5%, we can't get, capital is more expensive now. Notes are, when we're buying, when we got first started in 2010, and we're buying at 30 cents, 25 cents, that was easy, right? Now notes are more expensive and the cost of capital is up. So we get all that. Just make sure that when you make these offers, you kind of learn what it is.
Yeah.
If you have your own capital, you can go get 8% all day long. That's awesome. But most people don't have the kind of cost capital of 8%. So
All right, Dave. So you've been around a long time. You've seen market cycles. You've been through the ringer a little bit. So based on your experience and everything that you've seen and everything that you've been through, what do you see coming up in 2024? What's the market looking like for notes?
I feel it's going to kind of mimic 23. And
Okay.
23, I would have been, I don't see the market exploding. I don't see any major change that's going to get people to jump in or jump out. I think it's just going to be the same battle. You got to pick your lane, pick your niche. There's money to be made on these assets. There really is. You just got to pick your niche and what you're trying to accomplish. The valuations are still high. If the valuations had dropped by 40%, like they had done in the last couple of cycles, and the interest rates were starting to back down, the only other pressure that's not there is force. There's no force of these banks anymore to look at their ratios and say, oh gosh, I better start moving these assets because the FDIC is going to come in and take over the bank if my ratio is above 6 or 7. There's zero fear with these banks of having bad assets. And
why is that? Why is it? What's changed in that world? Is it because the fact there's not a lot of non-performers out there?
I think it's the equity position of it.
Gotcha.
I think the equity is so strong that there's no threat on that ratio. Again, it's when you have that event where valuations start to decline to a point, 30 or 40%, where that ratio is a big warning.
Are people leveraging the same way? Probably not, but if they are taking out a second, I guess there's still those ratios in place. I'm trying to just gauge how close are they getting
you would
to the wire
expect
there.
that second liens should be a product in the next 12 to 18 months. Because you would definitely expect that those second liens and HELOCs, home improvement loans, were done on the properties from last year that were that were extremely high.
Yeah, so I would expect that same thing.
That CLTV now is really going to get well above 100%.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's crazy. But yeah, you're right. We're back to the old times where when there's a ton of equity, people are going to take loans out for reasons they need to, reasons they don't need to, for all kinds of reasons. And that's when the cycle of seconds will grow. And I think for those who love seconds, it's a great time. The only downfall again is, well, I guess interest rates will be high for the seconds created. I'd be curious to see what the rates are on the seconds. I mean, if a second rate's at 6% when it was at 3%, it's hard to buy even a 6% note and move it to a 10. It's hard, right? It's still hard to do. So I'll be curious how that kind of trickles out, but it's just another cycle, but it's awesome. Well, Pollio, it was a pleasure, man. Hang out for the after hours. For everyone else, please feel free to jump out. If you are originator, feel free to reach out to us. We have a great situation coming up for you privately next Friday. If you are a note buyer looking to learn about non-performing and calculations and really advanced stuff, take a look at our January 9th beginning class for advanced work for note buyers. And then from there, we start 2024 all over again with a brand new kind of series of stuff. Our focus next year is going to be really about setting our goals, AI, silver finance, and whatnot. So we're looking forward to it. But Polio, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll disconnect from here.
Thank you guys and enjoy
Thank
the
you.
holiday.
All right,
You
take
bet.
care.